Kengan Ashura Season 2 has now started, but it's been called Kengan Ashura Season 3 by Netflix, because actually what they did is when they released it was part 1 and 2, and then they released Season 2, so everybody considered, well, a lot of people considered part 1 to be Season 1, part 2 to be Season 2 and 3. So I'm just going to call it Kengan Ashura Season 3 with a hyphen Season 2, whatever you want to call it. 12 episodes, let's talk about it. Despite insisting that he's fine, Omar ends up collapsing and recalls a childhood memory. Then the Kengan Life or Death tournament kicks off again. Okay, so there's going to be a number of really interesting different opponents in this tournament arc this season. The thing is, the one that we want to see, the main protagonist Omar, is not basically in this series or in Season 3. It feels like a bit of a tease. We see him at the beginning, we see the repercussions of what he went through in the previous part, and then we see him again at the end. But basically this is not his story. It's all those fight sequences or those fights that we've needed to have in between. Now, if you've been on board with how they show the fighting in the previous parts, then you'll be on board this one. I do feel like we get to see more of the fighting this time round. I prefer the fighting sequences in this part than previous parts. There's still a lot of dialogue and monologuing over the fight sequences, and there's still a lot of explaining exposition, but the way they do it is they slow-mo a sequence, and then they'll say this, or someone watching will narrate they're doing this because this is what they've learned or this is what they've figured out, and then they'll explain to us, the audience, what's going on. That's what happens with every fight, and for the most part you can guess who's going to win in the fight. Maybe not quite how they're going to win, because everybody's going to have their super moves. So when it comes to the actual animation or the anime part of the animated fight sequences, they look pretty good. We get to see them fight and hit each other. For me, this is much better than Bakihama, or just Baki, because Baki feels like storyboards that have been moved left and right or slid left and right. There's not too much animation in the Baki anime series. Here we get more animation style, but we still have that massive monologue exposition over all the episodes. We have an interesting arc kicking in at the end, like episode 11 and 12, as to something that's been building the whole way through the previous parts in this way. And I can only presume that when we get the next episodes of Season 3 officially, or Season 4, whatever you want to label it, that's when we get to see our main character have his last 3 fights. That's interesting because we're not sure how he's going to fight them, because as we know, he's very injured, and for him to continue fighting would mean really putting his life on the line. But that's the same case for everybody. This isn't a tournament arc where like you get knocked down and that's that. For the most part, you can totally get killed, and some do, and even those people that are coming to fight, some of them are death row inmates and have killed many people, and that's what they like to do, how they fight. So it's up to you to choose what style or which fighter you like, and I think you'll probably choose a few along the way hoping that they will win. But for me, I really wanted to see our main protagonist actually do some fighting. That's not the case for this. This is a filler season for that character, but does feel needed because we're moving on that arc and now we're getting to the last bits. It'll be interesting to see where they go with this story with our main protagonist, how he will survive, if he will at all, who will be the business leader at the end. Is there some other power play in the background? The story in the background is fine, and you like some of the narration from some of the other characters, you know, over expressing their wondrous, I guess, admonishment of what the characters are doing, because they're like, that they didn't do that move to me, why didn't they use that super move on me? And then realizing they had something else up their sleeve, superhuman abilities in fighting that is, you know, totally believable when it comes to anime and fighting anime. So I like the style this time round. I thought it was a fun watch. I'd probably give this 3.5 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
You got one. Congratulations.
Would have liked to have raised it more, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was like to have a bit more of our main protagonist. But for the most part, these were fun 12 episodes. Many different styles of fighting showcased here with that monologue kind of continuing. Interesting nonetheless. Let me know, who was your favorite character this season? Which fight did you prefer? Did you like the animation style, or are you tired of it? Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.